My name is Michael Bullock, and I work with the Center for Sustainable Development as an aquaponics manager. And over the past few months, I've had the awesome opportunity to work with this great group of kids on research focused on improving our aquafeed source and our aquaponics system, and just finding ways to make it more sustainable.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lee Schmidt, and my formal education is in plant and soil sciences and conservation biology, but really my background is more steeped in education. This marks, I think, almost my 20th year of formal teaching. Don't do the math there. This is my 4th year at the Island School, and this is actually my first semester as a research advisor. So I hope I passed the class. But in candor, it's been a real humbling opportunity to work so intimately with these 6 students, and I'm honored to call them my colleagues. So without further ado, here's Aquaponics.
Hello, everybody. I'm Quim Waldron.
I'm Abigail Motter. I'm Corley Tesoro.
I'm Cam Tolbell.
I'm Eve Brewer. I'm Sam T.
And we're the Aquaponics research team. This semester, we collected data on the use of Hermetia illucens, or black soldier fly larvae, as an alternative feed source in aquaponics. The problem. The UN estimates that by the year 2050, the global population will exceed 9 billion people. In 2011, 173 million tons of fish were extracted from global marine and inland water ecosystems, 131 million tons of which were used for direct human consumption, and 17 million tons were used to create fish meal and fish oil products. That's 17 million tons that could have otherwise gone to human consumption. Over the years, the price for fish meal and fish oil products has increased by 250%. It is estimated that we need between 125 and 210 million tons of fish in order to sustain the world population at just 15 to 20 kilograms per person per year by 2050. Frankly, this will not cut it. Oop, my bad. Due to the majority of people moving into the middle class, the demand for fish protein is quickly increasing. If we continue on our current track, we will not be able to sustain the demand for fish protein across the globe. As you can see in this graph, aquaculture is expanding to meet world fish demand. In the blue, we have the amount of fish captured by wild capture fisheries, and in the orange, we have aquaculture. As you can see, from the late 1970s, aquaculture has dominated the spectrum in fish production, and it is projected to continue so through 2010 all the way to the projected year of 2050. In this graph, we see the changing use of fish meal. As you can see, in the 1960s, only 2% of fish meal and fish oil products were going to aquaculture. That increased to 10% in 1960s and all the way up to 73% in 2010. So if we can cut down on the fish meal and fish oil use on just aquaculture, that could save us millions and millions of tons of fish per year.
What is aquaponics? Aquaponics is a food production system that combines conventional aquaculture, the raising of aquatic animals, with hydroponics, the cultivation of plants and water in a symbiotic environment. The way an aquaponics system works is that the fish excretion goes through a biofilter. The then naturally occurring bacteria throughout the system then turns this ammonia from the fish excretion into nitrites and then into nitrates. The plant then absorbs the majority of the nitrogen, and then the newly filtered water is circulated back into the fish tank. Some benefits of an aquaponics system is that there's no need for fertilizers, pesticides, or fungicides. Plants only need 3% of the water compared to traditionally grown crops, and plants mature at a rate of 3 times as faster than traditionally grown crops. So compared to traditional aquaculture and agriculture, aquaponics yields multiple functions. Aquaponics at the Island School. Our aquaponics system is located on CEI's campus. It has a volume of 25,000 gallons, and it contains 5 hydroponic grow beds, 6 tilapia grow-out tanks, and 4 fingerling tanks. Our system produces many leafy greens such as basil, mint, lettuce, and cilantro. The peak production for these leafy greens is between October and March, in which we seasonally supplement the dining hall. Recently, we have introduced an all-male breeding program utilizing super male YY technology in which all the offspring of the tilapia will be male. The reason we are doing this is because males have a shorter growing cycle, so we hope to have more harvests per year compared to the 2 to 3 we have now.
So why farm fish? Fish are incredibly efficient when it comes to the conversion factor between the feed they consume and the protein mass they put on. They actually use about 30% of their feed and convert it directly into their biomass. They are able to do this because they're poikilotherms, and they also do not need to create the bony skeletal tissue that most terrestrial livestock need to create. Furthermore, fish farming has a much lower carbon footprint than the most terrestrial conventional farming, which leads them to be a more sustainable form of protein. With this idea of sustainability, aquaponics and aquaculture can be used as a way to protect our environment and supplement the fish industry and allow our dropping populations of wild fish to regenerate. So why black soldier fly larvae? Black soldier flies have a very short life cycle, which allows them to be a great source of protein for our fish. On the bottom right-hand side of the screen, we have our black soldier fly larvae. They consume almost any organic waste given to them, allowing them to be a great resource in eliminating waste in an area, and they also have a great nutritional profile, consisting mainly of lipids, protein, and ash, 3 key ingredients in fish meal products. On the bottom left-hand side of the screen, we have an adult black soldier fly. They are really interesting because they don't have mouths, which leads them to not be a pest to humans because they cannot bite and they cannot spread disease.
The life cycle of a black soldier fly begins with about 500 to 900 eggs. When they hatch after around 4 days, they enter their larval stage, which is the stage our research team is focusing on. This stage lasts about 2 weeks, and it's the time in their life cycle where the flies feed. Because as Corley said, adult black soldier flies don't have mouths, it's vital that the larvae eat as much as possible so that the adults can live for as long as possible. After the larval stage, the flies enter their pre-pupal stage, which lasts about a week, and then the pupal stage. This pupal stage can last as quick as 10 days, but as long as months, and after this, it reaches adulthood. When it becomes an adult, it can only live 5 to 8 days because, once again, it cannot eat, and it devotes its time as an adult to reproduction. The Nile tilapia in our aquaponics fish tanks have certain protein, lipid, and carbohydrate requirements their feed must reach so that they have enough nourishment to thrive in the tanks for as long as possible, and black soldier fly larva meets these requirements. This chart shows black soldier fly larva nutritional content compared with the Nile tilapia nutritional requirements of protein, lipids, and carbohydrates. So for example, in the top left corner, we have the black soldier fly larva protein content, which is about 49%. This compares to the Nile tilapia protein requirement, which ranges from about 30 to 50% in all life stages. So this shows that it fits in with the requirements. Additionally, the lipid and carbohydrate requirements and black soldier fly larva lipid and carbohydrate requirements are shown, proving that black soldier fly larvae are a viable alternative to fish meal.
On the macro level, our study is aiming to provide the world's growing population with its increasing need for protein in an environmentally and economically sustainable way. BSFL are providing an alternative to the fish meal currently being used to feed farmed fish, and this is reducing the pressures on our ecosystems and decreasing the need for transportation of fish meal products. In addition, BSFL is creating new small businesses and job opportunities and can be easily taught to local communities. On the micro level, our study is aiming to make the Island School a more self-sufficient campus in terms of our aquaponics system. If BSFL are a viable alternative to the fish meal currently being used to feed the tilapia in our systems, it will economically and environmentally aid our school. Our study is modeled off a previous study, Nugan et al. 2015, in which different feedstocks such as fish offal, kitchen waste, and fruits and vegetables were used to test which feedstock would produce the best larvae. To begin our study, we collected 4 different feedstocks. Fish offal, which is currently grinded up lionfish scraps. kitchen waste, which we collected from the bins outside of our dining hall, glycerol, which is the byproduct of the biodiesel made on campus, and fruits and vegetables, which we collected from around our campus. We would put each of these different feedstocks into 6 containers, 3 handled and 3 unhandled. In our handled bins, we would collect data on the biomass and mortality rates 3 times a week, while in the unhandled, we would only collect this data at the beginning and end of the trials. We did this because there was a study showing that unhandled larvae perform more favorably than the handled. As you can see on the top right-hand corner of this slide, we began our study by collecting larvae from the BSF production center on our campus. We would then manually take 50 of these larvae and place them into each of the containers, and then place the respective feedstocks into the containers. To begin collecting our data, we would then remove the larvae from each of these bins and weigh them for the biomass differentials and record mortality rates. At the end of collecting our data, we would then replace the old feedstock with new feedstock and then put the larvae back into each of the bins that we retrieved them from.
Okay, so you can see in this graph here, it's the handled larva weight across the feedstocks. The glycerol, which is the purple, showed no real increase in biomass, and by the third sampling, the fruits and vegetables tapered off, showing that both these 2 feedstocks did not have the necessary nutrients for the larvae to flourish. But the kitchen waste and fish offal grew at a constant rate and got very close in biomass by the end. In this graph, the red represents the unhandled and the blue represents the handled. You can see on the y-axis, it's the mean increase in the larval biomass. In all of the trials except for the glycerol, the unhandled grew much higher than the handled did. You can see the fish offal and kitchen waste, again just showing their growth rates are substantially higher than the other 2, and these numbers across the bottom are the specific biomass increases that they had. This graph shows the mortalities across the 4 different feedstocks. In all of the trials except for the kitchen waste, the handled had much higher mortality rates. You can see the fruits and vegetables and glycerol had over double the mortality rates than the fish offal and kitchen waste, showing again just that they lack the necessary nutrients to sustain the larvae. So we can conclude that the fish offal and kitchen waste produce the heaviest larvae and have the lowest mortality rates due to their potential high fat and protein contents, where the fruits and vegetables and glycerol produce larvae with a lower biomass and higher mortality rates. Additionally, the glycerol produce larvae with low biomass and higher mortality rates due to the presence of methanol, which is an ingredient in glycerol and is toxic to the black soldier flies. In the methanol trial, the handled grew more than the unhandled because it was exposed to less methanol than the unhandled.
At the end of our trials, we are going to send our larvae to a university lab in Florida so that they can be tested for their nutritional content and determine which feedstock produced the larvae with the best ability to support the Nile tilapia in our systems. We are also going to begin a black soldier fly breeding program here on campus so that we can have a year-round supply of black soldier fly eggs. Lastly, we are going to begin a black soldier fly larvae processing system, and we are going to begin creating the pellets necessary to feed our fish. This will all economically benefit the Island School, for it will decrease the need for importation of fish meal products. These are our citations, our acknowledgments, and let us answer your questions. The question was, is this fly native to the Bahamas? Was that question? Yes, this fly actually is native to the Bahamas, and that's why we are using it as our what we're using to feed our fish, because it's found here, so we don't have to import anything, because the whole project is built around making the system more sustainable.
Alright, so the question was, so we're eating the lettuce here, and the question was if it tastes the same as if you were to, oh, or the tilapia. Well, anything that we're growing, if it tastes the same way as if we were to import it, yes, it does taste the same as if we were to import it, and in fact, it could be considered fresher since we do grow it on campus. Yes?
The question was, how do we deal with our fish, if they get diseases? I think that was the question. And that is a very interesting question, but that is actually beyond the scope of our study. Yes?
So I believe the question was, as in regards to the energy consumption of the aquaponics system.
Of all the fruit that the island school needs, wouldn't it be nice if you could actually grow it all here? That would be ideal. Now, that's probably on the list. So what percentage could this system of aquaponics the fish that you're going to provide could provide regionally?
Okay, so the question was how the plant production of our aquaponics system, in which what percentage can we supplement our campus? And the answer is, from October to March, we completely supplement the dining hall in lettuce and all of our leafy green production. So all of the salad that you're eating in the dining hall, that's all from our aquaponics system. And I actually do not know for the tilapia.
Growing interest in using insects for human consumption, like cricket flour, for example. Is there any thoughts about this larvae that's almost 50% protein becoming possible for human consumption?
So the question was, is it possible that the larvae we're growing could be fit for human consumption? Yes, you can eat it, and yes, it's healthy and good for you, but I'm sure most people would refrain from eating larvae. But yes, you can eat it, and a couple of our research. We don't know yet, but you can ask Michael in the back. He's tasted it. Yes.
So I noticed in one of the earlier slides the nutritional requirements of the larvae to meet the needs of the fish, and it looked like it didn't meet carbohydrate. Right? It was short. So is that part of why you're going to send them to Florida? For review?
Less than 40. That's what was left.
Yeah, so carbohydrates is pretty short. Was that part of your discussions about how you would deal with that?
Yeah, okay, so the question was, it looks like the carbohydrate, the black soldier-fly larva carbohydrate content was lower than the requirements. So the answer is, it's not necessarily that it doesn't fit, that it's too low, it's just that it's 40%, that the maximum percentage of carbohydrates for Nile tilapia is 40%. So it can be anywhere, ranging from that.
In addition, we also have a mix of vitamins and minerals that we add to the crushed up larvae when we're making the pellets, so that will supplement any additional carbohydrates or other protein or lipid requirements that are needed. Yes.
Yeah, so you talked about how producing the feed here on campus you wouldn't have to pay for importing it, but I was wondering, can you compare the economics? Is it actually cheaper to grow the larvae and produce the pellets than it would be to ship in feed?
Yes. So every bag the question was, is the economics of our system here actually going to aid our systems? Is it actually going to provide any benefit for the island school? So yes, it actually is. Every bag of feed for our tilapia is about $50, and over the course of the year that adds up. And our larvae, once the production actually begins, is going to save $1,000 about for the island school every year. And that's just in terms of making the pellets, so it's actually probably going to be more than that.